Oh, hey, what's up, guys? This is a big box for a big kit. We're checking in on the Legend of Star General series here from Motor Nuclear. This is the MNP-XH15 Lubu. There is kind of more to the name, but it's, I guess, kind of the easiest way for me to call it. And as you can see, it is a very, very big box with a ton of stuff in here. So as I understand it, this is going to be kind of 1/100 scale, just sort of in terms of like the size, comparable to like an MG in terms of the size of this, probably a little bit bigger. But we have a ton of stuff in here, as you can tell by this, just the size of this box. So we'll check everything out here and then we'll check out the kit itself. Let's go ahead and get into it for today's video. So aside from this massive box art here on the front, there's not a whole lot to see around on the box. We'll take a quick look around here. That's the front. On the back, it's just blank there. Here on the top, you can see we have a look at the weapon. So it's got a couple of different bow weapons here. It looks like this sort of staff spear weapon. And I think like the bow weapons can be transformed into this big claw kind of thing there. Of course, you got these long braids that go out the back. That big kind of spear looking weapon, and there again is another look at the bow kind of in action. On the sides of the box, just going to be the same box art there on the front, and on the bottom we've just got a nice front and back view of what the kit is going to look like here. And there's a little bit more about kind of the Legend of Star General's story there. Everything's all going to be in Chinese, of course. And that is it. So let's go ahead and pop the top on this if we can. There's obviously a whole bunch of runners to get through, including this big old stand here, which I think is the same as what we saw with the Horse General kit that was the last one that I built here on the channel. But here we have our very large instruction manual as well. On the front inside pages is just going to be our parts list, and then after that we're just on into the construction. So we're just going to go through the construction of the body here, and the construction is going to take a little while. Obviously there's a whole bunch of like all like the ornamental parts and everything kind of to the design, so it's not just like kind of a base robot form. And we have the weapons here, and it looks like everything's just all going to be in black and white, so nothing color in the manual here, unfortunately. Although I will point out that for each section of the build, it does let you know which runners are going to be used for that section, so that is cool. It also says the colors there in both the Chinese and in English, which is nice. That's much appreciated. But yeah, anyway, once we get through to the end here, basically it's just putting the base together there and just kind of mounting everything together, and also how to use this connection like support arm there for the weapon as well. And that's it. So there's no decal guide because it looks like there's not going to be any decals included with this one. Let's see if there's anything else extra. Other than that, we'll go ahead and get into the runners then. Well, there is this box here, which is going to be our metal parts. It's a separate box with just the metal parts for the frame. So it's not like a full metal frame. It's just going to be a series of parts that are like a mix. As you can see here, it's like metal and I would assume probably ABS for the plastic parts of the frame, but it does look like quite a lot of metal included with this one for the frame anyway. There's one more bit in here that's going to be this very long black wire. I'm guessing we're going to cut this into, and that's going to be for those two kind of long braid parts that come out the back of the hair there. But then to get into the runners, let's go ahead and just start with the display base, which we've got a couple pieces like this large one here, which is just not on a runner, just like a big piece. And then there's a smaller one here as well. We've also got a couple of small clear runners here for, I think that's probably just for like the support arm there. Like we saw some larger parts for the base here as well. I think these are for like drawers that kind of slide out on the bottom, which should give us like some storage, which will be nice. And then a couple of other large black runners here for the support arm, which also have this really cool kind of mix of mechanical and decorative design features to those. That looks really nice. All right, the rest of the runners then are grouped by color. So first we have all of our black parts, which is not like necessarily a high gloss black, but it is pretty glossy here. So these are going to be the A runners here, runner A1. There you can see all in black. Runner A2 here. There's going to be a lot of these black parts, the majority of the armor, which is kind of cool, but black armor just means that it's kind of hard to make out a lot of the details, but I think we'll have a lot of other parts kind of inset in the black that will stand out against it, though. We'll see with the final result there. There's runner A4, which we have two of. Runner A5 here, looks like this is some parts getting into like some of the weapons parts there maybe, and then here as well on runner A6, which we also have two of. Up next, the B runners are going to be here in this maroon gray. So there's runner B1, runner B2. We have 2 of there. And then runner B3 as well. Obviously, this is going to be parts for that braid out the back. There's 2 of those with a bunch of those little connection parts there. The C runners are going to be here in purple. There's runner C1 and then runner C2 here. Runner D is here in a plated chrome. As you can see, it's just kind of molded in gray, but then plated with this really bright silver. The E runners are going to be some of what looks to be like kind of like frame detail kind of parts in this kind of brownish gray color. There's runner E1, runner E2, runner E3, not necessarily frame, I guess, but sort of like the kind of secondary layer of frame, mechanical detail parts. Anyway, there's runner E4 and runner E5 here. Those last 2 look to be like parts for the weapons again. The F runners then are molded in that same color, but plated with this kind of dark gunmetal kind of plating there, which looks really nice. There's runner F1, runner F2 here, runner F3, and then this is what I was talking about, like these parts are going to help to stand out and certainly catch the light against those black parts for the armor. That'll look really nice. There's runner F4. The G runners then are in a plated gold. I'm not sure what color. Oh, it looks like they may be molded in yellow and then plated in gold. There's runner G1, runner G2 here, and a really nice shade of gold too, I will say. I really like the look of that. It catches the light really nicely and just shines really nice. I like the color of that. Then for the next handful of runners, we've got a whole bunch of different clear colors. So runner H is here in clear blue. Runners J1 and J2 are going to be here in clear purple. The K runners are a little bit of a combo breaker here, with runner K1 and K2 basically being some like ABS kind of frame type parts there. But then runners L1 and L2 are going to be here in clear red. And then runner M is interesting in kind of a clear purplish color here. But if we flip it around to the back, you can see a few of these are actually plated on the back, and it's actually some of these red ones were as well. So they have that silver plating on the back so that on the front they kind of shine a little bit more brightly there, as you can see with some of those parts. Lastly, then, some more parts here in that brownish gray color, runner W3. I think this is actually more parts for the base, so we will have like kind of a two-tone gray kind of color there for the base. Actually, the other parts were in black, so you'll have a little bit of gray to accentuate the black. And then the X1 and X2 runners here are basically just all of our hand parts, and it looks like we're just going to have a set of fixed pose, swappable hands. Well, the thumbs are maybe on ball joints, maybe, but otherwise the finger is going to be fixed pose. So anyway, it all looks pretty good. Let me go ahead and get to work on this, and then we'll check it out. All right, guys, then here is the kit all put together. If you did not see the live stream, you can go back and check that out. But putting this together, I mean, it was quite the build. I mean, it's just like layers upon layers upon layers, building up all these different colors and the different layers of plastic that you've got there for like the armor between the gold, the black, the clear colors, and everything else in between. And the kit is super solid here in hand, very heavy, quite large, and this thing is definitely going to be grabbing attention up on the shelf. But of course, aside from the main kit, which we'll take a look at in some more detail here in just a moment, let's first just take a look through our included accessories. And first of all, we've got our included display base here, which is pretty substantial. And you do have this little sticker for like the nameplate here on the front. I didn't notice that when we were going through the unboxing, but that was just kind of hiding out there in the box. So I went ahead and stuck that on there. And I love the fact that this support arm is actually in 2 different colors. So even without detail painting it, I mean, at least you got a little bit of color separation in there. Although detail painting this, of course, would make it look even better. But you have kind of your normal points of articulation here for this. A little latch that you can unhook there to be able to move this up and down to kind of adjust the angle of the base there. And you can also plug this front part into a number of different spots here on the base. Like if you want it to be raised up a bit higher, you can move it into this spot here further back, and then you can basically set it so that the arm is kind of more vertical here, something like that. Then at the back here, there's another latch you can pop open here, and that will basically allow you to extend the neck of the base there a little bit, about 2 inches or so. And then here at the top, we have this kind of push button mechanism where you push that through one way and you're able to adjust the angle of this here with our connection piece attached on, and that is a metal piece inside there, so it should be pretty solid. And then you just push that button back through the other way to lock this into position there like that. Now, the other cool thing about this base is that you have these parts that slide out to the side as kind of drawers here on both sides for, you can put your extra hand accessories or whatever other like small accessories will fit in there, extra little like connection parts and things like that. You can store here in the base. So you've got that storage there. You've got these extra bits towards the back here. You can adjust the angle of slightly just for like some added support there as well. And then you have this additional piece here, which can be attached onto a number of different spots here on the base, just for your like extra support arm. So you can attach this kind of anywhere around there, just using this little connection piece here. And then we've got two of these clear, well, like weapon support arms. So because the weapon's pretty large, pretty heavy, and kind of depending on how you have the weapon situated, you might want to use this. And so by using this extra connection piece here, that gives you kind of a little bit more space there on the base to be able to plug these support arms. So you could actually combine, this is like two different like support arms with 3 segments, but you could make it like you could connect a 4th segment, or you can kind of make it just 2 segments, just kind of whatever you want there with these. And so we've got a couple of different attachment points here at the top, just kind of depending on which weapon you're using these for, and obviously a couple of different points of articulation throughout there. And so as for those hand option parts that I mentioned, we'll go through them. You have basically a set of fixed pose hands where the thumbs are on a ball joint, but here we have closed fists, and a number of different open hands. So here you have just like open outstretched hands, kind of different shape open hand here, or it could be like a weapon support hand, something like that. You also got this kind of partially open hand like this, and then again another variation on that, and these ones have like a wrist connection that is like sort of bent back like that, so for doing sort of a bit more like martial arts poses and stuff. And then we have a few different variations of like weapon holding hands, either just like kind of regular weapon holding hands or with the trigger finger extended. You also have ones that have the wrist bent like that, or just kind of a straight wrist. And you, as you can see, you have a couple different options for like the shape of the thumb as well. So these are basically, you can like mix and match. All in all, that gives you about 8 different hand options, and times 2 of the hands, so basically 16 hand option parts there. Then for the first of our weapons, we've got this kind of halberd style weapon here like this, with the clear part there at the end. At the big end here, this huge clear part and gold parts, and this thing is really, really long, coming in at about a little over 42 centimeters in total length. So this thing is really long, and as you can see here along the handle, you have a couple of different points where you can attach the hand onto there. Any one of those little cutouts there in the handle, you can attach the hand into easily. And then we've got our kind of 2 large bow weapons here. So this has a handle on the side here. You have this kind of clear blue part meant to look like sort of an energy string there here on the bow, and there is a little bit of a flex there. There's a point of articulation there, so you can kind of change the angle of that, whether you wanted it more kind of pulled back or not. And then the arrow for this is like a separate part here, and this actually is really cool. It has a little fold out little peg there for being able to plug this onto here, so you don't have to worry about trying to actually hold the arrow in hand or like trying to balance it or something. You can actually have it plugged onto there like so to be able to pose that really easily, something like that when in hand. Now the arrow and the bow itself can be broken down into like a few different segments. The arrow as well has this point here in the middle where this can be bent and folded like that. Basically with the weapons, we have a bunch of different optional ways to use these. The second bow is going to be this larger one here, larger and heavier, as we have some metal parts here for this. And this is basically broken down into sections. So you have like this main center section, the metal section, this section here, and then this end section like that. And so again, kind of depending on your weapon configuration, you can break this down into a few different parts. There is also this small like shield part here, which can be attached into the arm. So you're going to use this in combination with the hand part holding onto the handle. This is going to plug onto the arm for support, and this can be used as like a shield. These kind of parts here on the side can be open or closed. This is also a part that is going to be used in combination in different ways with our accessories here, as we've got a number of other different connection parts here. And like I said, there's just a bunch of different ways that you can use the weapons. And so what I want to do is show you some of those options here in a minute. When we just take a look at the kit in a few different poses, you'll see kind of some of the different options as to how you want to set up the weapons on this and orientate them. But first, just wanted to take a closer look just here at the base kit and talk a little bit about some of the finer points of this. One thing that I noticed while going through the build that was really cool is for all these clear parts here, if the clear part is going on top of a black part or like a dark colored part, then those are the clear parts that have that silver plating on the backside, and that's just to make sure that the clear parts actually shine really nicely. So when we were going through the unboxing, we noticed that some of the clear parts had that silver coating on the back and some did not. So if the clear part is going over like a gold or a silver part or like a shiny plastic part underneath the clear part, then it doesn't have that coating on the back. But if it's going over like a dark colored plastic part, like these parts here for the knees, for example, then those have that silver coating underneath, just again to make sure that they shine really brightly. Here on the side skirts, these are an example of that there's a silver piece underneath, so the clear red parts don't have that silver plating on the back side of them. But I thought that was a really clever way to make sure that all of the clear parts are actually visible, since there's a lot of the armor here on the kit which is in that dark color black, of course. The skirt armor in particular is pretty cool, how you have these sections with different points of articulation. Here on the side skirt you have different articulation points. Each of these sort of like feathers, sort of as it were, is on a little ball joint and can be like spread out there like that. Even here on the back skirt as well, this can be extended out for more articulation, or kind of closed up there. You can also kind of fan out the back skirt parts here like this as well. I mentioned about being able to plug the shield connection part into the back of the arm. That's actually right here, but there's a little cap covering that piece. So I love the fact that even for like functional parts of the design, they give you options to be able to cover that up. So if you're not wanting to have anything plugged into here, you don't have to have this like square hole there. You actually have a cap to cover that, so that there's nothing kind of getting in the way of the overall design here. You can see the eyes, although they're kind of set in there in this dark color plastic, those actually shine really nicely there in the kind of clear red. And then of course the hair tail parts here are nice. These are actually pretty nicely flexible and posable here. I think, you know, when we take a look at this and when we're taking a look at it in like different poses, those are going to be like bouncing around a little. I mean, they do tend to bounce around a little bit like that, but if you've just got this, you know, up on your shelf, up on your display, I mean, those are going to hold the pose really nicely. Then we've got some really nice articulation here, as you'll see in just a moment, but just again, as far as just like the stability of the kit, you can see it's a tall kit coming in with a head height of about 26 centimeters there. That makes it, you know, larger than your standard 1/100 scale Gundam like master grade kit. Not quite like PG size, but definitely very large if you're comparing it to MG 1/100 scale Gunpla. But yeah, I mean, I can hold it by the ankle, like the lower leg here, and kind of shake it around. You can see it's staying in place very securely. It's pretty hefty, pretty solid kit. And so now getting into the portion of the video where we're taking a look at this in a few different poses. This is where I actually kind of want to focus a good amount of the review on, just to let you guys see basically kind of a lot of the options that you have with this, just because with the different weapon options that you have, as I mentioned before, and as you'll see now, and I'm not even going to be able to show you kind of like everything that you can do with this, but I'll show you, you know, a good amount of the different kind of options that you have just between the different weapons and configurations that you can do with this. And so just in the number of different weapons that you have between the spear, the two main like bow weapons, the arrow, the little shield as kind of like your main accessories, there's obviously, as you can see now here, a number of different ways that you can combine them or mount them onto the kit in different ways. And that's one thing that I really like about this kit. You know, aside from the base body itself, which the base kit on its own was a really impressive build, you know, putting it together, as I mentioned, it's just like layer upon layer. You have like your kind of inner frame sort of layer, then you have the armor layer, but the armor is made up of, you know, you've got like a gold part, then a black part, then a dark silver part, and then clear parts on top of that, and then another gold part. And I mean, it's just like a lot of that through the process. And so it takes a while to get this all put together, and there's a bunch of parts. I mean, as you saw in the unboxing, it's a big box. It's really full with a whole bunch of stuff in there, and so this is a build that's definitely going to take some time. But those metal inner frame parts work really well, just to make sure that even though this is big and it has a whole bunch of plastic on there, it actually still remains very solid, really stable. And that's great for the main kit itself, but then of course you have the included display base, which works really well as well. I mean, because the kit can be super stable, but then, you know, if you're only limited to keeping it on the ground, you are going to be a little bit limited in terms of your posing options. But because we have that really nice display base included as well, you know, with the optional like support arm that you have for the weapons in case you need that, I think this kit did a really good job of really kind of just giving you everything that you could possibly want with this, in terms of giving you just so many options for how you might want to display this, how you might want to keep it up on your shelf or in your display case. So like me, for example, I'm not always super into like bow style weapons for my giant mecha, although I feel like, you know, the bow definitely fits the kind of aesthetic here with this one. But if you don't want to have the bow weapon as a bow, you can kind of change the configuration, turn it more into like this massive claw kind of weapon there, or just have those parts just kind of mounted on the kit in different kind of very menacing ways. The kit has a very menacing kind of aura to it, right? With all the black and then like the dark colored clear parts, the purple and red, certainly has this very kind of demonic look to it. And then you have those long red tails out the back. So I mean, it's just got a really cool look to it. Not the kind of thing that like I would typically go to as like myself personally being more a fan of like kind of the more somewhat more kind of like realistic, sort of gritty, kind of more robot designs like that, like the Zaku 2, something like that. That style robot, where this is definitely more like fantastical and ornamental in its design. But I really, really like this. I really enjoyed the build, and just makes for a really impressive looking kit overall. It's just got a great size to it, a great look to it, and it looks awesome. So I'm thoroughly impressed with this. I can definitely recommend it to you guys. Check it out. If you're interested in this or anything else from Motor Nuclear, you can of course check the link in the video description to USA Gundam Store. This one, I believe at the moment of recording this, we still have not received this in stock, but I believe it should be coming pretty soon. So again, this is an early copy. Just keep that in mind. If you guys have pre-ordered it, you know, obviously we haven't got it here in stock again at the moment of recording this. So if you haven't already and you would like to pre-order it, you should still be able to there on the site, assuming that it's not sold out. I don't believe that it is, but you can check that out there on the website, and yeah, again, everything else. But anyway, thank you guys so much for checking out the video here today. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of this kit down in the comment section below. And if you're not yet subscribed, make sure to subscribe as well. I really appreciate your guys' support. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time. Later.